The blue light from the holographic screen filled the dark command room. Captain Lee Minho stood still and watched the alien face appear before him. The creature looked like it was made of glass and crystal. Its voice sounded strange, like music mixed with metal scraping. "Humanity has 72 hours to surrender all weapons and military ships," the alien said. Its name was hard to pronounce, but Minho knew it spoke for the Galactic Council. "You have broken the rules by expanding into the outer rim systems. You must obey our commands. There is no choice." Minho sat quietly in his captain's chair. His fingers tapped slowly on the armrest. Behind him, Lieutenant Park Ji-won watched the computer screens. Her face showed no emotion, but Minho could feel the tension in the room. 20 officers waited on the bridge of the ship called Indomitable. Everyone was silent. "We found those star systems first," Minho said. His voice was calm and steady. "Our exploration teams mapped them 3 years before your council even knew we existed." The alien's body changed colors. Waves of light moved across its transparent skin. "Your claims mean nothing. The council controls all civilized space. Your species was given limited membership with strict rules. You have broken those rules." The transmission ended suddenly. The command room went dark except for the normal ship lights. "Sir, we have movement," Ji-won said quickly. Her fingers moved fast across her control panel. 37 council warships are appearing at the edge of our solar system." Minho stood up and straightened his uniform. "Battle stations. Connect me to Admiral Kim Taeyong at Earth Command immediately." Within seconds, the Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. The old man looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "I saw the message, Captain. The Council just sent the same threat to every human colony and base. They are calling it a peacekeeping mission." "Peacekeeping," Minho repeated. The word tasted wrong in his mouth. "They have fleets surrounding Earth, Mars, and Titan. This is not peacekeeping. They want to conquer us," Taeyong nodded slowly. "The President is gathering the government for an emergency meeting. But between you and me, Minho, we both know how this will end. We either give up and become slaves in our own systems, or we fight back. And if we fight, then we show them what humanity learned in 5,000 years of war." The Admiral's face became hard like stone. "The Council thinks we are primitives playing with stolen technology. They are about to learn the truth." All across human space, similar conversations were happening. On Mars, Commander Choi Hyeran received orders to prepare the orbital defense platforms. In the asteroid mining colonies, engineer Kang Woo-jin and his team started converting industrial equipment into weapons. Every human settlement prepared for what was coming next. The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. It was an alliance of 43 alien species that kept order through overwhelming force and endless rules. They had crushed 17 rebellions in their history. They had absorbed 32 civilizations. They had never lost a war. Their way was simple. Superior species guided lesser ones by force if necessary. Humanity had been discovered only 15 years ago. A Council scout ship had detected Earth's radio signals. The first contact had been peaceful and friendly. Humans were given basic membership in the Council. They received access to some technology. They were allowed to build a few colonies under strict supervision, but humans did not like being supervised. The Council was about to discover this truth. "Captain, the Council fleet is moving," Ji-won reported. "They are forming a blockade pattern around our position." "We are being contacted again." The alien ambassador appeared once more on the screen. This time 2 other species stood with it. One was massive with heavy armor covering its body like a tank. The other looked like a giant snake with scales that glowed with inner light. "This is your final warning," the armored alien said. Its voice was deep and rumbling. "Turn off your weapons and prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will destroy you immediately." Minho looked at Ji-won. She gave him a small nod. The signal had been sent. Every human ship, every station, every armed base had received their secret orders at the same moment. "Ambassador," Minho said carefully, "I need you to understand something about my species. We have a saying on Earth, do not mistake kindness for weakness." The snake alien made a hissing sound. The translation device on Minho's console turned it into words dripping with contempt. "You dare threaten the Council? You command 1 ship. We have 40,000 ships in our fleets." "Yes," Minho agreed. "You do have 40,000 ships. And that is exactly your problem." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "All hands execute Protocol Omega. Show them what Project Prometheus was really designed for." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations came to life. These were weapons that humanity had spent 15 years developing in secret. The technology borrowed ideas from Council designs, but humans had improved them. Human creativity and desperation had made them better. On Mars, weapons platforms that looked like communication satellites powered up. In the asteroid belt, mining stations revealed hidden railguns. Around Jupiter's moons, defense grids activated. Near Saturn, experimental weapons that bent the rules of physics hummed with energy. The Council had believed humanity was weak. They thought humans were children playing with toys. They assumed that superior numbers would guarantee easy victory. They were wrong. Captain Lee Min-ho watched his tactical display. Green dots represented human forces. Red dots marked enemy ships. There were far more red dots than green, but Min-ho was not worried. All ships, he broadcast to the human fleet. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. We fight for our freedom. We fight for our children. We fight because no one has the right to make us kneel. He took a deep breath and gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships, weapons free. Show them what humanity can do. The war that would shatter the balance of power in the galaxy had just begun. The Galactic Council had no idea what they had unleashed. They had threatened a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and nuclear weapons. They had challenged a species that had climbed from caves to reach the stars in just 10,000 years. They had made humanity angry, and humanity, when pushed to the edge, was the most dangerous force in the galaxy. The first shot was fired. There was no turning back now. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes and swam away, leaving Whiskers content and purring in the sun. Breaking news. Humans annihilate the Galactic Council. The first strike did not come from the Council fleet. It came from humanity. Commander Choi Ha-yerin watched from Mars Orbital Station 3 as the attack began. 15 years of secret preparation turned into action in a single moment. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt were weapons disguised as mining equipment and research stations. Now humanity's true arsenal woke up. Railgun batteries are online, her tactical officer reported. Targets are locked. Fire, Ha-yerin commanded. The Council thought human railguns were primitive weapons. They were wrong. Human engineers had pushed the technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The weapons accelerated tungsten rounds to 5% of light speed. The projectiles hit the Council blockade before their sensors could even detect the launch. 3 Council destroyers disappeared in clouds of hot debris. The shockwave from the impacts broke apart the tight formation of the enemy fleet. Ships scattered across thousands of kilometers of space. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, the tactical officer announced. His voice was excited but controlled. They are trying to regroup. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Lee Min-ho monitored the battlefield through his neural link. The tactical display showed the battle in real time. Each friendly ship glowed green. Each enemy vessel was marked in red. Deploy the swarm, he ordered. From the Indomitable's launch bays and dozens of other human ships, millions of tiny drones poured into space. Each drone was barely larger than a human fist. Each one carried explosives and guidance systems. The Council's defense systems were designed to stop missiles and torpedoes. They were completely unprepared for millions of tiny attackers. The drones moved with purpose. Their artificial intelligence created patterns that looked almost alive. They flowed around defensive fire like water. They adapted to countermeasures. They found weak points in armor with terrifying efficiency. The Council ships tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The drones swarmed over hulls like angry insects. Explosions rippled across enemy vessels. Armor cracked. Systems failed. Ships went dark and drifted in space. Admiral Kim Tae-yong watched from Earth's command center buried 3 kilometers beneath the Korean peninsula. Around him, holographic displays showed battles happening in a dozen star systems. Every human colony was under attack. Every human colony was fighting back. Report from Titan, his aide announced. Captain Yoon Ji-hyun reports complete destruction of the Council landing force. 0 friendly casualties. Europa? Commander Han Suji successfully pushed back the blockade. She is requesting permission to pursue the enemy. Taeyong nodded. Permission granted. Tell all fleet commanders to press the advantage. The Council expected us to surrender. We need to hit them hard enough that they reconsider everything they think they know about us. On the Council flagship, Supreme Commander Krelthar of the Thorian military watched his tactical display with disbelief. In 30 years of service, he had never seen anything like this. A supposedly primitive species was coordinating attacks across multiple star systems with perfect precision. How are they doing this? He demanded. His massive form loomed over the bridge crew. Our intelligence report said they only had basic fusion drives and simple weapons. His tactical officer, a young alien named Shindar, worked frantically at his station. His crystalline hands trembled. Commander, I am detecting weapon signatures that match no known Council technology. These humans have been hiding their true capabilities from us. Another explosion rocked the flagship as a wave of micro-drones penetrated the outer hull. Damage control teams rushed to seal the breaches. Red warning lights flashed throughout the ship. All ships activate full defensive screens, Krelthar ordered. Deploy countermeasure drones and prepare for... The transmission cut off as 3 Council cruisers exploded at the same moment. Human ships moving with impossible precision had flanked the main formation. They targeted command vessels with focused beam weapons. What is that? Krelthar roared, pointing at a new reading on his display. Particle beam weapons, Commander, Shindar replied. His voice was barely a whisper. But the energy output exceeds our theoretical maximums by 12 times. Humanity had learned from Council technology, but they had not simply copied it. Human scientists were not limited by 12,000 years of thinking the same way. They had looked at the problems from completely new angles. Their solutions were elegant, efficient, and brutally effective. Lieutenant Park Jiwon coordinated the Indomitable's weapons with the ease of someone playing a familiar game. Captain, the enemy flagship's shields are fluctuating. I am reading power problems across their entire fleet. Minho studied the data flowing across his screens. They are used to fighting enemies that match their technology. They have never faced an enemy that innovates this quickly. He opened a channel to the fleet. All ships target their command structure. Take out their communications arrays. Make them blind and deaf. Throughout the battle, human pilots demonstrated skills that shocked Council observers. Lieutenant Nam Doyen flew an interceptor from the carrier Defiant. He engaged 6 Council fighters at the same time. His craft danced through space with impossible grace. This was the result of neural interface technology that the Council had decided was too dangerous to use. Never thought I would thank those crazy scientists, Doyen muttered to himself. He outmaneuvered a fighter and sent a burst of plasma into its engines. The enemy craft tumbled away with dead systems. On Earth, news of the battle spread through the global network. President Oh Min-jae addressed the United Government. Her words were broadcast to every human settlement across the solar system and beyond. Today, the Galactic Council learned a fundamental truth about humanity, she said. Her voice was steady despite the weight of the moment. We will not be conquered. We will not surrender our freedom. For 15 years, they believed us to be children playing with toys. Today, we remind the galaxy why humans survived on a death world for millions of years. We are not prey. We are not servants. We are humanity, and we will not kneel to anyone. The speech would later be remembered as the Declaration of Human Independence. It was the moment humanity announced itself not just as a member of galactic society, but as a force that could not be ignored or controlled. Back in space, the battle reached its peak. The Council fleet had expected easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting for survival against an enemy that refused to follow any known rules of warfare. Human tactics confused and frustrated the Council commanders. Ships that should have retreated pressed forward. Damaged vessels continued fighting. Individual pilots made decisions without waiting for orders from command. It was chaos to Council observers who were used to rigid hierarchy and careful planning. But it was not chaos. It was human warfare. Every captain was trusted to make decisions. Every pilot was empowered to take initiative. Every crew member understood the mission and acted accordingly. The Council had never faced an enemy where every single person was thinking, adapting, and fighting as an individual, while still working toward the same goal. The battle raged for 18 hours. Slowly, inevitably, the Council fleet began to fall back. They had lost nearly 40% of their ships. Thousands of crew members were dead. Their formation was broken. Their morale was shattered. Supreme Commander Krelthar watched his forces retreat in disorder. It was the first military defeat the Council had suffered in 3,000 years. The supposedly primitive humans had humiliated the greatest military force in the galaxy. "Get me a connection to the High Council chambers," he ordered. His voice was hollow with shock. "They need to see what has happened here." The message was simple but devastating. Humanity had won. The Council had lost, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Breaking news: humans annihilate the Galactic Council. The battle ended after 18 hours of fighting. Supreme Commander Krelthar watched in stunned silence as his forces retreated from human space. His fleet had been reduced by nearly 40%. It was the first military defeat the Council had suffered in 3,000 years. "Get me a direct connection to the High Council chambers," he ordered. His voice sounded empty and hollow. "They must see this immediately." On the Council's homeworld of Centralis, the governing body of 43 species gathered in emergency session. The Grand Chamber had been built over thousands of years as a monument to peace and cooperation. Now it buzzed with panic and fear. Elder Velcorin of the Crystal People stood at the central podium. His normally bright form was dim with distress. "We have made a terrible mistake about the humans. Our losses exceed any single battle in all of recorded history." "Impossible," hissed Representative Kilos. He was from the snake-like species. "They are a young species. They barely know how to travel between stars. How could they possess such weapons?" A holographic recording played above the assembly. It showed human ships executing maneuvers that seemed to break the laws of physics. The representatives watched in silence as human fighters moved with perfect coordination. They acted like a hive mind but showed individual creativity at the same time. "They have been preparing for war since first contact," Velcorin explained. "While we watched them and made reports, they studied us. Every technology we shared, every treaty we discussed, every diplomatic meeting was a chance for them to gather intelligence. They learned our weaknesses while hiding their strengths. In the human-controlled system, celebrations were brief. Admiral Kim Taeyong knew this was only the beginning. The Council would not accept defeat easily. Humanity had revealed capabilities that would make them either a major target or a serious threat. "Status report," he demanded, studying the fleet positions on his displays. Captain Lee Minho's face appeared on the main screen. "Indomitable took minor damage. We are combat ready. The enemy left behind 12 disabled vessels. Our salvage teams are already taking their technology and gathering intelligence." "Good. What about casualties?" "Surprisingly light, sir. We lost 4 destroyers and approximately 300 people across all battles. Medical teams report another 500 wounded. Most will return to duty within weeks." Taeyong nodded grimly. In traditional Council warfare, losses were measured in percentages of entire fleets. Humanity's different approach had changed everything. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Council," his communications officer announced. "They are requesting an immediate ceasefire and want to negotiate." "Already?" Taeyong raised an eyebrow. "That is very unlike them. Put it through." Elder Velcorin's holographic form appeared before him. The alien's usual confident posture was gone. He looked almost afraid. "Admiral Taeyong," the Elder began, "the High Council wishes to stop all fighting immediately. We acknowledge that our first assessment of humanity's capabilities was incomplete." "You mean you tried to bully us and got hurt badly?" Taeyong replied bluntly. "Let us not dance around the truth. Elder, you came to conquer us and found yourselves facing an enemy you do not understand." Velcorin's colors shifted in a way that seemed like embarrassment and reluctant respect. "Your military abilities are impressive. The Council wishes to avoid more bloodshed and discuss a new relationship with humanity." "Relationship," Taeyong repeated softly. "That is an interesting word choice. You mean you want to negotiate as equals now rather than give us orders like we are children?" Before Velcorin could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. The communications officer's face went pale as she read her displays. "Admiral, we are detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Multiple fleets are heading toward the Sol system from across Council space." Taeyong's jaw clenched tight. "How many ships?" "Over 200,000 vessels, sir. They are mobilizing everything they have." Velcorin's hologram flickered with what looked like real alarm. "Admiral, I knew nothing of this. The military council must have acted on their own. They cannot accept—" "Save it," Taeyong cut him off. "Your internal politics are your problem. You have 1 hour to recall those fleets or we will show you what humanity is truly capable of." He ended the connection and turned to his staff. Get me President Ominje. And wake up everyone involved with Project Ragnarok. Tell them it is time. In a secret facility hidden beneath the moon's surface, engineer Kang Woo-jin had been waiting for this call for 5 years. Project Ragnarok was humanity's ultimate weapon. It was so devastating that its very existence had been kept secret at the highest levels. All systems are green, he reported to the hastily gathered team. Targeting solutions are locked. We can fire on your command. What is the estimated damage? Asked Director Bae Yuna. She was the civilian in charge of overseeing the project. Woo-jin's expression was dark. If we fire at full power at the incoming council fleets, we will create spatial problems that will make several star systems uninhabitable for centuries. The death toll among both military and civilian populations would be in the billions. And if we do not fire, then the council fleet overwhelms our defenses through sheer numbers. They will occupy Earth and every human settlement. We will be slaves or dead within a generation. Yuna closed her eyes. She felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her. How many warning shots can we fire? Warning shots? Woo-jin looked surprised. The weapon is not designed for— Make it work, Yuna interrupted. We did not become humanity's hope by following the instruction manual. Show them what we can do without actually killing billions. Give them one chance to back down. Across human space, similar preparations took place. Captain Yoon Ji-hyun at Titan activated orbital weapons that could destabilize the atmosphere of gas giant planets. Commander Han Suji at Europa brought online systems that could accelerate ice asteroids to planet-killing speeds. Every human settlement revealed hidden capabilities. Each one was a piece of a larger plan to make any attack on humanity too costly to consider. President Ominje watched the council fleets advance on her tactical display. Her hands were clasped behind her back. Around her, the government's military and civilian leaders waited for her decision. They are testing us, she said quietly. They need to know if our victory was luck or real capability. If we back down now, they will crush us. If we destroy their fleet completely, we become the monsters they feared we might be. And if we do neither, asked Defense Minister Park Ji-ho. Min-jae smiled slightly. Then we do what humans have always done when facing impossible odds. We improvise, we adapt, and we show them that we are not their enemies unless they force us to be. She opened a channel to Admiral Taeyong. Execute the demonstration. Make it spectacular. Make it terrifying. And make absolutely certain they understand that we are showing restraint, not weakness. The message was clear. Humanity had the power to destroy, but they chose to defend instead. Whether the Galactic Council would understand the difference would determine the fate of both humanity and every other species in the galaxy. The next few hours would decide if peace was possible, or if the galaxy would be plunged into a war that would make the first battle look like a minor skirmish. Humanity stood ready for either outcome. They had shown they could win battles. Now they needed to show they could win the peace as well. But first they needed to remind the Council why threatening Earth had been the biggest mistake in galactic history. Breaking news. Humans annihilate the Galactic Council. The demonstration began with a single point of light appearing in empty space. It was 40,000 kilometers from the advancing Council armada. Engineer Kang Woo-jin monitored the readings from his lunar control center. His fingers moved across holographic controls. His heart was racing, but his hands were steady. Project Ragnarok firing sequence initiated, he announced calmly. Spatial compression matrix at 98% efficiency. What happened next would be studied by scientists for decades. The point of light expanded into a sphere of impossible darkness. It looked like a wound in reality itself. The weapon bent space and time in ways that violated every known law of physics. It created a localized gravitational anomaly that Council scientists had said was mathematically impossible. The sphere collapsed inward. Then it erupted in a pulse of energy that rippled across space between the human defenses and the Council fleet. 3 uninhabited asteroids in the weapon's path simply ceased to exist. Their matter was converted to pure energy in the blink of an eye. The pulse stopped precisely 100 kilometers from the nearest Council vessel. It dissipated harmlessly into space. But the message was crystal clear. Humanity could have erased the entire armada, and chose not to. Aboard the Council flagship Eternal Dominion, Fleet Marshal Thorncax watched his display with an expression his crew had never seen before. Fear. Analysis, he demanded. His voice lacked its usual commanding authority. His chief scientist, a crystal being named Rishital, worked frantically at her station. "Marshal, that weapon manipulates the fundamental fabric of reality. The energy output alone exceeds our entire fleet's combined power generation by 3,000 times. If they had targeted us directly..." She did not need to finish. Everyone on the bridge understood. The entire armada of 200,000 vessels would have been annihilated before they could even register the attack. "Get me the High Council now," Thorncax ordered. "And someone send a message to the human leadership. We need to talk immediately." President O'Minjay received the Council's surrender request 30 minutes later. She sat in the secure conference room with her senior staff. She read the translated message with careful attention. "They are offering complete withdrawal from all human systems," Defense Minister Park Ji-ho summarized. "Full recognition of our sovereignty. A permanent seat on the High Council. Unrestricted access to Council trade networks and technology. In other words, everything we wanted in the first place," Admiral Kim Tae-yong observed dryly. "Before they decided we needed to be put in our place, they are also requesting we share specifications for our weapons technology," added Director Bae Yuna. "Particularly Project Ragnarok." Minji laughed. It was a sound without humor. "Of course they are. They want to make sure no one else can do to them what we just did." She stood and walked to the window that looked out over Seoul's glittering nighttime skyline. "What is the mood among our people?" "Mixed," Ji-ho replied honestly. "There is celebration in the streets over the military victory. But there is also fear. We have made enemies of half the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Even with our weapons, we are vastly outnumbered. Then we need allies," Minji decided. "The Council maintains power through force and bureaucracy. There must be member species who hate their authority as much as we do." Captain Lee Min-ho's face appeared on the conference room's main display. He interrupted the discussion. "Madam President, we have a situation. A ship from the snake species just broke away from the main Council fleet. It is requesting asylum. The captain claims to represent a resistance movement within the Council." "A defection?" Taeyong leaned forward. "This quickly? Apparently our little demonstration has caused quite a stir," Minho explained. "The captain says there are at least 15 species within the Council who have wanted to challenge the ruling powers for centuries. They lacked the capability. Now they see humanity as potential liberators." Min-jae exchanged glances with her advisors. "Or they see us as a way to settle old grudges and advance their own agendas. Either way, it is an opportunity. Bring the captain to Earth. Let us hear what they have to say." 3 days later, the alien captain stood in the same conference room. She introduced herself as Silna. Her serpentine form coiled gracefully as she spoke through a translation device. "The Council is built on a lie," she began without hesitation. "The founding species claim they created a democratic alliance for mutual benefit. In truth, they conquered and absorbed weaker civilizations. They offered membership as an alternative to extinction. Those who resist are crushed. Those who comply are slowly stripped of freedom." "And you are telling us this why?" Taeyong asked with suspicion. "Your people were part of the fleet sent to conquer us." Silna's scales rippled with colors that the translator read as shame. "My people were conquered 8,000 years ago. We remember freedom, even if most have learned to forget. When we saw what you did, how you fought back and won, it awakened something we thought was dead. Hope," Minji said softly. "Yes. Hope that the Council's rule is not eternal. Hope that another way is possible." Director Bae Yuna pulled up holographic displays showing Council structure and organization. "If what you say is true, how many species would join a coalition against the ruling powers?" "At least 20, Silna replied. "Perhaps more if they believe they can win. But they need proof that humanity is not just another tyrant waiting to replace the old order." The discussion continued for hours. It revealed the complex web of politics, power, and ancient grudges that held the Galactic Council together. Minjae listened carefully. She was forming a strategy that was both bold and necessary. "We will not share our weapons technology," she finally announced. "Not with the Council and not with potential allies. That technology is our insurance policy. But we will offer something more valuable, an alternative to the Council's authority." "A competing alliance?" Ji-ho looked doubtful. "We do not have the numbers or resources to challenge them directly, even with our technical advantages." "We do not need to challenge them directly," Minjae countered. "We need to show that membership in a human-led coalition offers something the Council does not. Genuine freedom. Mutual defense without conquest. Free exchange of technology without strings attached. She turned to Silna. Go back to your resistance movement. Tell them humanity is offering a new deal. We will defend any species that wishes to join us. We will share defensive technology. We will respect their independence. In return, they stand with us if the Council attacks. No empire, no hierarchy, just allies. The Council will see this as a declaration of war, Silna warned. They already see us as a threat, Taeyong pointed out. The difference is now we are offering other species a choice they have never had before. As Silna departed to carry humanity's message, Captain Yoon Ji-hyun arrived from Titan with troubling news. Intelligence gathered from captured Council vessels revealed something unexpected. The Council's military doctrine has not changed in 3,000 years, she reported. They have become lazy, relying on numbers and established technology. But there is something else. Our analysts found references to old conflicts, species that were wiped out for possessing dangerous technology. Define dangerous, Min-jae requested. Technology that could threaten Council dominance. Weapons, propulsion systems, or computers that exceeded what the ruling species considered acceptable. Any civilization that showed too much innovation was classified as a threat and eliminated. The implications were heavy. Humanity had just demonstrated exactly the kind of innovation that would have gotten them exterminated in the past. The Council's restraint was not mercy. It was calculation. They needed to understand what humanity possessed before deciding how to respond. They are afraid, Min-jae realized. They do not know the full extent of our capabilities, so they are trying to negotiate while preparing for war at the same time. So what do we do? Asked Jiho. Min-jae's expression hardened with determination. We do what humans have always done when facing threats to our existence. We survive. We build alliances. And we make absolutely certain that anyone who threatens us understands the cost. The stage was set for a transformation that would reshape the entire galaxy. Breaking news. Humans annihilate the Galactic Council. 6 weeks after the first battle, the galaxy was divided in ways not seen in thousands of years. Captain Silna's mission had produced unexpected results. 17 species formally withdrew from Council authority. They declared independence and asked for human protection. Another dozen species hesitated. Their governments were split between those who feared change and those who wanted freedom. In the Grand Chamber on Centralis, the High Council met in crisis. The once unified body was now fractured along ancient fault lines. Elder Velkorin addressed the assembly. His crystalline form displayed colors of deep concern. We face not just a military challenge, but an ideological one, he announced. Humanity offers what we thought was impossible, an alternative to our authority. If we do not act decisively, the Council will break apart completely. Supreme Commander Krelthar rose to speak. His massive armored form dominated the chamber. We have maintained order for 12,000 years through strength. I propose we show that strength once more. Gather every available fleet. Call upon all treaty obligations. Crush humanity before their rebellion spreads further. And risk them using their reality-warping weapons? Representative Kilos hissed. You saw what they did with a warning shot. A full war could destroy entire star systems. Then we negotiate their surrender, suggested Ambassador Feln from another species. Offer them what they want. Full membership, technology access, freedom in their systems. Bring them into our structure before they tear down everything we built. Velkorin's colors shifted to patterns showing deep thought. Perhaps there is a third option. We identify their source of power, their technological advantage, and we neutralize it, not through open warfare but through covert operations. Sabotage their weapons production, infiltrate their research facilities, steal their innovations. The proposal sparked heated debate. Some saw it as practical. Others viewed it as dishonorable. What none of them knew was that their entire discussion was being monitored. Lieutenant Park Ji-won had infiltrated Council communications networks. During the first battle, they are planning secret operations, she reported to Admiral Kim, Taeyong from the Indomitable's intelligence section. Multiple teams targeting our research facilities and weapons manufacturing centers. Taeyong forwarded the information to Earth immediately. This could work in our favor. Let them come. We will feed them false information. Make them think they understand our technology when they do not. On Earth, President Oh Min-jae gathered a different kind of meeting. Representatives from the 17 breakaway species had arrived for the founding of what they called the Free Systems Alliance. The gathering took place in Seoul's Olympic Stadium. It was deliberately chosen to represent competition without conquest. "We stand at a crossroads," Min-jae addressed the assembled delegates. "Behind us lies 12,000 years of council authority maintained through force and fear. Before us lies an opportunity to build something different, a true alliance of equals where no species rules over another." A delegate from the Veskari stood to speak. The Veskari were a feline species from the Outer Rim. "Noble words, President Min-jae, but the Council commands resources we cannot match. They have industrial bases on thousands of worlds. What can we offer against such power?" Captain Lee Min-ho stepped forward. He projected a holographic display. "What we offer is efficiency over size. The Council's strength is also its weakness. Their supply lines stretch across the galaxy. Their decision-making requires agreement from 43 species. Their military has not changed in thousands of years. We, on the other hand, are small, fast, and innovative. And we have this," added engineer Kang Woo-jin. He displayed technical plans that made several delegates gasp. "Defensive technology that we are willing to share with all Alliance members. Weapons platforms, shield generators, propulsion systems that will make each of your worlds capable of defending themselves without relying on human fleets." The Veskari delegates' eyes widened. "You would share such technology freely?" "The Council hoards such advances. They give them only to favored members." "Because the Council maintains power through dependence," Min-jae explained. "We seek partners, not subjects. When your worlds are attacked, we want you capable of defending yourselves while we come to help, not waiting helplessly for rescue that may never come." The proposal excited the delegates, but Director Bae-yuna raised an important point. "There are conditions. This technology cannot be used for conquest or aggression. Any Alliance member caught using our weapons to conquer others will be expelled and face immediate consequences. We are building an alliance for mutual defense, not creating a new empire." Over the following weeks, human engineering teams traveled to Alliance worlds. They established weapons production facilities and trained local forces. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had spent centuries under Council protection discovered they could stand on their own. Commander Choi Hyerin oversaw the fortification of the Veskari home world. She worked alongside local engineers who proved remarkably skilled at adapting human technology. "Your people are natural engineers," she commented to her Veskari counterpart, a young female named Kelris. "We were once," Kelris replied quietly. "Before the Council said our technological progress was concerning. They restricted our access to advanced materials. They said it was for our own good, that we were not ready." "But you were ready," Hyerin said. "They just did not want you to become strong enough to challenge them." Kelris nodded. "Now we have a chance to show what we can really do." Similar scenes played out across Alliance worlds. Species that had been held back for centuries were finally allowed to reach their potential. The results were impressive. Within weeks, defensive networks that would have taken the Council years to build were operational. Back on Earth, intelligence reports painted a concerning picture. The Council's covert operations had begun. Small teams were infiltrating human space, attempting to gather information and sabotage key installations. "We have captured 3 infiltration teams so far," reported Security Chief Yang Sera to President Min-jae. "They are well trained but not prepared for our security measures. We have been feeding them false data, as Admiral Taeyong suggested." "What kind of false data?" Min-jae asked. "Technical specifications that are 90% accurate but with critical flaws. If they try to replicate our weapons based on this information, their prototypes will fail catastrophically. It will set their research back years." Min-jae nodded approval. "Good. But eventually they will realize they have been deceived. When that happens, they will be angry." "Let them be angry," Admiral Taeyong said from his position at the tactical display. "Anger makes people make mistakes. And we need them making mistakes, not careful plans." The strategy was working. The Council was so focused on stealing human technology that they failed to notice the larger shift happening across the galaxy. More species were quietly reaching out to the Free Systems Alliance. Not all were ready to leave the Council openly, but they were establishing secret communications and preparing for the day when they could break free. Lieutenant Nam Doyun, now promoted to commander of a reconnaissance squadron, reported back from deep space missions. "Sir, We are detecting unusual activity in several council-controlled systems. It looks like civil unrest, protests, even some armed resistance. Which systems? Taeyong asked. Mostly outer territories, species that joined the council more recently. They see what the alliance members are achieving and they want the same freedom. Min-jae studied the reports with satisfaction. The council's greatest fear is coming true. We are not just an external threat. We are an idea, and ideas are much harder to fight than ships and weapons. She opened a secure channel to all alliance members. Attention, all allied worlds. The council will attempt to divide us. They will offer deals to individual species. They will threaten retaliation. They will try to make examples of the weakest among us. We must stand together. Any attack on one alliance member is an attack on all. Make this clear to your populations. Make it clear to the council. The message was broadcast across dozens of star systems. It was a line in the sand. The Free Systems Alliance was not a loose coalition. It was a unified front. On Centralis, Elder Velcorin watched the broadcast with growing dread. They are more organized than we anticipated, and they are growing stronger every day. Then we must act now, Krelthar insisted, before they become too strong to stop. Breaking news. Humans annihilate the Galactic Council. The final confrontation came not with a battle, but with a choice. 3 months after the first conflict, the Galactic Council faced a crisis unlike anything in its 12,000-year history. 28 species had now left to join the Free Systems Alliance. 15 more were openly debating departure. The council that once commanded 43 civilizations now struggled to maintain authority over a fractured remnant. Supreme Commander Krelthar stood before the High Council chamber one last time. His armor was scarred from recent skirmishes. His voice was tired but still defiant. We can still salvage this, he insisted. Authorize me to use overwhelming force. We crush the human home world. We make an example so terrible that every species in the galaxy will remember why they fear the Council. Elder Velcorin's crystalline form had lost much of its brightness. He looked ancient and weary. And how many billions will die in that attack, Commander? How many of our own ships will be destroyed by weapons we still do not fully understand? As many as it takes to preserve order. Order? A new voice echoed through the chamber. It belonged to Representative Myra of the Torvian people. Her species had been loyal council members for 8,000 years. What order? We have lost more than half our members. Our authority is questioned openly. Our fleets are demoralized. This is not order. This is collapse. The chamber erupted in arguments. Species blamed each other for the crisis. Ancient alliances fractured. Accusations flew. The unity that had held the council together for millennia was finally breaking apart. On Earth, President Min-jae watched the chaos through intercepted communications. Lieutenant Park Ji-won had become remarkably skilled at penetrating council networks. The humans could now monitor nearly every high-level conversation. They are falling apart, Admiral Kim Taeyong observed. Faster than we anticipated. The question is what comes next, Min-jae replied thoughtfully. Do we push for total victory? Force them to surrender completely? Or do we offer them a way to save face? Defense Minister Park Ji-ho frowned. After everything they tried to do to us? After they came to conquer our world? You want to show them mercy? Not mercy, Min-jae corrected. Strategy. If we humiliate them completely, the hardliners will never accept peace. There will be resistance and terrorism for generations, but if we offer them a path to coexistence, we might actually build something lasting. Captain Lee Min-ho's face appeared on the display. He was calling from deep space where human and alliance fleets patrolled. Madam President, we are detecting a single council ship approaching Sol system. It is broadcasting diplomatic codes and requesting permission to meet with you directly. The ship belongs to Elder Velcorin. Min-jae exchanged glances with her advisors. Alone, not a fleet? Just one ship, ma'am. Completely unarmed according to our scans. Let him through. But monitor closely. If this is a trick, I want every defense system ready. 2 days later, Elder Velcorin stood in the same Sol conference room where Captain Silna had once pleaded for alliance. The old alien looked diminished somehow despite his impressive crystalline form. President Min-jae, he began formally, I come not as a conqueror but as a petitioner. The council is dying. We both know this. The only question is whether it dies in fire or fades peacefully. Why should humanity care how the council ends? Taeyong asked sharply. You tried to enslave us. Yes, we did, Velcorin admitted. The honesty was startling. And we were wrong. Not just tactically wrong, though that is obvious now. Morally wrong. We have spent 12,000 years believing that our way was the only way. That order required dominance. That peace required subjugation. You proved us wrong in every possible way. Minjay gestured for him to continue. I have a proposal, Valkyrin said. The council will formally dissolve itself. All species will be released from their treaty obligations. But we ask that the founding species, those who created the council originally, be allowed to join your Free Systems Alliance, not as leaders, not as privileged members, simply as equals. You want to join us? Director Bayuna looked skeptical. After everything? We want to survive, Valkyrin replied simply. And more than that, we want to learn. You humans did in 15 years what we could not do in 12,000. You built an alliance based on respect rather than fear. You shared power instead of hoarding it. You treated your allies as partners rather than subjects. These are lessons we need to learn. Minjay stood and walked to the window. Seoul's skyline stretched before her. A city rebuilt after countless wars and disasters. Humanity's history was written in survival and adaptation. There will be conditions, she said finally. Strict ones. We expected nothing less. First, complete disarmament of all offensive military capabilities. You may maintain defensive forces only, subject to alliance inspection. Second, full disclosure of all technology and scientific knowledge. No more secrets, no more hidden weapons programs. Third, reparations to every species harmed by council aggression over the past 1,000 years. Fourth, you will face a truth and reconciliation process. Every crime, every conquest, every species you destroyed will be documented and acknowledged publicly. Valkyrin absorbed each condition without protest. And in return? In return, you will be protected under Alliance mutual defense agreements. You will have equal votes in Alliance decisions. You will be allowed to rebuild your civilizations in peace. And perhaps most importantly, you will be given a chance to prove that species can change, can grow, can become better than they were. The negotiations continued for 3 weeks. Every detail was debated, argued, and refined. Representatives from all Alliance species participated. There would be no secret deals, no backroom arrangements. Everything was open and transparent. Finally, on a crisp autumn morning, the formal ceremony took place. Not on Earth and not on Centralis, but on a neutral space station that had been built jointly by human and Alliance engineers. It was named Hope Station. President O. Minjay stood at the podium looking out at representatives from 47 different species. Some had been enemies weeks ago, some were old allies, all were now equals. Today marks the end of the Galactic Council, she announced. An institution that lasted 12,000 years has passed into history. But we do not celebrate its destruction. We mourn what it could have been. An alliance built on genuine cooperation rather than enforced obedience. A union of species working together rather than some ruling over others. She paused, letting her words sink in. Today also marks the true beginning of the Free Systems Alliance, not the small coalition that formed in desperation, but a galaxy-wide community where every voice matters, where small species are not crushed by large ones, where innovation is celebrated rather than feared, where diversity is a strength rather than a problem to be managed. Elder Valkyrin approached and formally signed the dissolution documents. His crystalline hands trembled slightly. 12,000 years of history ended with the stroke of a pen. We were wrong, he said to the assembly. For thousands of years we were wrong. We thought control was the same as leadership. We thought fear was the same as respect. We thought dominance was the same as strength. Humanity taught us otherwise. Not through words, but through actions. You fought when you had to fight. You negotiated when you could negotiate, and you offered redemption to those who had tried to destroy you. Around the station, ships from dozens of species fired celebratory salvos into empty space. Not weapons fire, but fireworks and light displays. The age of fear was ending. The age of cooperation was beginning. Captain Lee Minho watched from the bridge of the Indomitable, now serving as one of the Alliance's peacekeeping vessels. Lieutenant Park Jiwon stood beside him. Do you think it will last? She asked quietly. The peace? The Alliance? Minho considered the question. Maybe, maybe not. But we gave the galaxy something it never had before. A choice, a real alternative to empire and conquest. What they do with that choice is up to them. On Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, engineer Kang Woo-jin sat with his family watching the ceremony on television. His children asked him about his work on Project Ragnarok. He did not tell them details. Some secrets needed to remain secret, but he told them something more important. We built weapons that could have destroyed worlds, he said, but we chose not to use them that way. We showed restraint when we could have shown fury. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us different. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for thousands of years began to dream of new possibilities. Scientists pursued research without wondering if they would be punished for being too innovative. Artists created works that challenged authority without fearing retribution. Explorers ventured into unknown space not to claim territory, but to discover wonders. The news networks broadcast the story with dramatic headlines. Breaking news: humans annihilate the Galactic Council. But those who lived through it knew the truth was more